Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
I have a horrible story out of Ohio to pass along to you, and by horrible, I'm just saying it's a bad story, but we should be aware of this and talk about it. Bill passed it along. Thank you very much. It's from the Cox Media Group who wrote it. But police say a man in Ohio crashed his car and his wife was killed. And when he was driving drunk on a license suspended 36 times. His license had been suspended 36 times. Franklin County, Ohio, an Ohio man has been charged with his wife's death after police say he crashed while drunk driving and with a driver's license that had been suspended 36 times over the past 34 years. There needs to come a time where the courts say, we've suspended it for the last time. You're never getting it back. And if you drive one more time without it, you're going to jail for a year or two. Drive a second time without it, drunk or not, you're going to jail for 5 or 10 years. And I'm not saying those are necessarily the numbers to use, but there's got to be a point where you say, we're going to lock you up to keep you from driving. You can't be trusted on your own to not drive. We're going to lock you up. And by the way, when they arrest the guy for drunk driving on a suspended license, again, they need to seize the car from him and to take it out and crush it in the public square to show people what happens. And if it's not his car, you say, well, it's too bad. Unless the car was stolen, whoever let him drive deserves to have their car get crushed in the public square as a show of what happens. So Robert Lee Ellis, who was 53 of Columbus, was driving with a suspended license the day his wife, Dawn Grubbs Ellis, was killed. This is according to Franklin County Sheriff's officials. Dawn Ellis, 51, died at the scene of the crash on October 16th. Sheriff's officials said in a statement that Robert Ellis is one of the worst habitual repeat offenders of drunk driving they've ever seen. Robert Ellis was indicted December 2nd on 2 counts of aggravated vehicular homicide and 2 counts of operating a vehicle under the influence. The second charge of OVI stems from his status as a repeat offender. Ellis has a total of 12 previous OVI convictions. And different states have different abbreviations, whether it's operating a vehicle under the influence of OVI or operating while intoxicated, OWI, and so on. But the point is that this guy's been charged with this over and over and over again. And in some states, you can get prison time on the third offense. And that's good, because you shouldn't get that far. You shouldn't get to a third offense. But I wonder about this when somebody's license has been suspended 36 times. That the law is either not written in a way that's appropriate to make a guy like this stop, or somebody's not enforcing the law. Because someone like this should never be getting behind the wheel of a car. They clearly don't have a way of doing it without hurting somebody. We've always heard people say, someone's going to get killed. Someone got killed. The statement from the authority says he has no regard for human life, continuing to be an extreme danger to the motoring public due to his criminal behavior of operating vehicles while impaired. His blood alcohol concentration was 0.185, which is twice the legal limit for drivers in Ohio. Accident investigators said he was driving a silver 1995 Chevrolet Silverado in Prairie Township when he missed a curve and went off the roadway and hit a utility pole. He was taken to a hospital for treatment while Dawn Ellis died at the scene. Neither was wearing a seatbelt, which is another problem. Robert Ellis was arrested Tuesday by members of the Franklin County Sheriff's Office SWAT team. In an interview about 2 weeks after the crash, he admitted to WSYX in Columbus that he had been drinking the day of the crash, but claimed it was no more than a beer or two as he and his wife had lunch. And anybody who's dealt with problem alcoholics will tell you that they often can't count. And if you ask them how much they had to drink, they'll say, I had a couple drinks or I had a drink or two. And a drink or two is 9 or 10, or a couple of drinks is 12, okay? Somehow their ability to do math went out the window a long time ago. And I'm joking because that's not really what the problem is. They're saying that because they don't want to admit what they really did. If you actually counted how many drinks the guy actually had, he had more than a beer or two, okay? He said they were driving home when an oncoming vehicle crossed the center line, causing him to lose control of the truck. Of course, that mystery vehicle I doubt has ever shown up. The investigators never mention another vehicle's possible involvement. So Ellis told the news station it was a tragic accident. It was never meant to happen. It just happened. Yeah, it just happened. Okay, a guy whose license has been suspended 36 times just happened to get behind the wheel after drinking and hits a telephone pole or a utility pole. Someone dies, and it's a tragic accident. That's not a tragic accident. It looks premeditated to me. You had to have seen this coming down Main Street, as they say. When a reporter asked about his 12 previous drunken driving convictions, he stood by his claim that he was not drunk when his wife died. I've already served my time and they're over, he said of the prior convictions. Well, yeah, and you're about to get another one. Dawn Ellis's family's been fighting for what they consider justice in the case since the day she died. Remembrances on the online obituary contain many references to the phrase justice for Dawn because they've been pushing to have this man prosecuted. Her children and grandchildren have written about how much they miss her. She's survived by 2 daughters, 2 sons, and 6 grandchildren, along with a mother and 4 siblings. And I know some people are going to say, Steve, she got in the truck with the guy. And she did. But we also know how relationships are and husbands and wives and so on. But, you know, this is a tragedy, but it wasn't an accident. Okay? Her other daughter told WSYX, anybody who knew her knew how big my mom's heart was. So, to sum up, the man's license was suspended 36 times. He has 12 previous operating a vehicle under the influence convictions. And he is said to have blown a .185 after the accident in which he ran off the road and hit a pole and the passenger in his vehicle got killed. Okay? So, I don't know the exact time frame of the 36 suspensions or the 12 convictions, but I would argue that most people would agree that those numbers are both too high. And so if you get your license suspended, I don't know, 5 times, maybe you should just lose your driving privileges. You're incapable of it. If you look at the statistics on how many people get tickets, and then how many people get enough tickets to where their license gets suspended, and then you realize that we're dealing with a fraction of a fraction of a percentage of a percent. I mean, it's minuscule, the number of people who are this bad. And I know everyone says, but Steve, in America, you got to be able to drive a car, to get around, to have a job. Yeah, you do. And it's a privilege that you shouldn't abuse. And so when your license has been suspended 36 times and you've got 12 convictions for drunk driving, the guy's got a problem. But the state has a problem also because they let it get this far. Okay? So, like I said before, in Michigan, drunk drivers can go to prison on the 3rd offense. And I agree with that. And I have represented people for alcohol-related driving offenses. First offense. It's all I've ever done. I will not handle seconds or thirds. And I tell people that. And I say, because I can talk to you and help you on your first offense, because I think that many people don't understand how low the threshold is. And I think that many people did make an honest mistake on their first offense. And so I've had a lot of people who blew right in the line or very, very close to the line, you know, and I'll go into court and do what I can for them and try to mitigate the damage and the harm to them, do what I can to help them. But I tell people, I say, this is your wake-up call. Second offense, you're going to go to jail. Third offense, you can go to prison. And so think of this as a situation where the harm or the damages increase exponentially. Okay? And if you can stop it right now so that you never have another alcohol-related offense, perfect. You learned a lesson and you moved on with your life. That's great. Second offense, you're going to jail. A couple days, 30 days, but spend some time in jail. And if that doesn't wake you up, then you deserve to go to prison. Okay, now I understand that some people in Michigan instead of prison will get like the ankle monitor be sitting in their house and house arrest and all that because our jails and prisons are overfilled, whatever. My point simply is this, that they need to have draconian measures kick in for repeat offenders. And someone's license shouldn't be suspended 36 times, because after the first 5 or 10, the license should disappear. And like I said before, if they catch the guy driving without a license and he's had enough suspensions where he's lost it permanently, they need to take the car. And like I said, it might be someone else's car, unless the car was stolen, and you need to let people know. If you lend your car to a guy who's had this many drunk driving convictions, this many license suspensions, you risk losing your car, because we don't need people enabling people like this. Okay? So that's the law in Ohio, and I don't practice law in Ohio, so I'm not going to claim to understand all the nuances of it. But I know the law in Michigan very, very well. And they had to step this up, because I remember when I was a kid in high school, going to college, I remember hearing these crazy stories about the guy who's been arrested for drunk driving dozens of times, dozens of suspensions. Those are the old days. And the laws need to be stepped up, and this needs to stop, because not that somebody will die, somebody has died. Okay? So there you go. Bill, thanks for the story. Thanks to Cox Media Group and Crystal Bonvillian for writing the story. Ohio man crashed, killed wife while driving drunk on a license, suspended 36 times. Questions, comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.